All right, so let's dive into a world that is just fascinatingly broken. We're talking about a future built right on a razor's edge, where this ancient spiritual power has just slammed head-on into corporate cybernetics. The result? A reality that's, well, both stunning and deeply, deeply messed up. So, picture this. On one hand, you've got that classic cultivation journey, the path of inner struggle, discipline, becoming more powerful through spiritual growth. But on the other hand, you've got this cyberpunk future where megacorporations have literally monopolized spiritual energy. So what happens when these two completely opposite worlds smash into each other? What happens when you can just buy a better soul?
Well, that collision is what gives us this world of Aurapunk. It's a place where you could spend, decades honing your spirit, practicing in isolation, only to get completely flattened by some guy who just bought the latest subdermal armor implant. And the person guiding us through this neon-drenched dystopia is a guy named Jing Shang. He's a fugitive, he's living in the city of Yanlo, and he's just trying to pay off this insane debt while hiding a secret that could absolutely get him killed.
So we catch up with Ye Shang, and he's working this dead-end security gig at a medical clinic. He's just trying to keep his head down and make ends meet. But right as he's doing the math and realizing it's going to take him like 70 years to pay off his debt, and that's not even counting the interest, a message pops up on his light screen.
So boom, he's fired. And you'd think, okay, maybe he messed up, right? But no, he's fired because he was honest. His big crime? He wouldn't take bribes from rich patients trying to cut the line. And because he wouldn't play ball, he made all his corrupt coworkers look bad. In this world, his integrity got twisted and labeled as arrogance.
And this isn't just about one crummy boss or a bad workplace. It's a symptom of a sickness that runs through the entire system. To really get why his morality is a bug and not a feature, we have to look at the broken philosophy this whole world operates on. It's basically a war between two very different definitions of the way. Okay, so traditionally, you have the way of heaven. It's all about natural balance, right? Taking from those who have too much and giving to those who have too little. But the corporate sects, the guys in charge, they've championed something called the way of man. And it's a philosophy that flips the whole thing on its head. It basically says, no, we take from the weak and give it to the powerful. That's how things should work. So in their system, when Ye Shang refused that bribe, it wasn't just him being difficult. It was a quiet act of rebellion against the #1 rule of his world. So now he's jobless, desperate. Ye Shang has no choice but to head to the city's bounty hall to look for work. And it's right there, out on the streets of Yanlo, that he walks right into a situation that shows him just how deep the rot in this world really goes. He sees these two young disciples, all fired up, from a supposedly righteous sect, and they're attacking a family that owns a small restaurant, screaming their heads off about killing demons. But here's the thing, the family they're attacking, they're not monsters. They're intelligent, humanoid beings. So why are these kids calling them demons? The answer is just chilling. It lies in a war of words, a cultural war that was maybe even more vicious than any physical one. See, 1,000 years ago, these beings were known as the spirit race, and they lived alongside humanity. But about 500 years ago, this crazy powerful corporate sect, Taichung Palace, took over and started to literally rewrite history. They systematically scrubbed the name spirit race from existence and replaced it with the slur demon race, basically rebranding an entire people as subhuman animals to be hunted down. And when Ye Shang tries to explain this, the disciples he's arguing with, they have never even heard the term spirit race. That's how total the propaganda is. It shows you, when you control the words, you control reality itself. To scrape together some cash, Ye Shang ends up taking a bounty to hunt these acid-spitting spiders deep inside some caves, and this mission forces him onto this really dysfunctional team that includes, get this, Chu Yan Yan. She's the senior sister of the exact same disciples he was just fighting with on the street. Talk about awkward.
And deep inside that spider's nest, that ugly way of man philosophy shows its face again. In the middle of this chaotic fight, one of the bounty hunters, this big axe-wielding guy, sees his chance. A teammate is trapped, about to be mauled by a spider, and this guy just lets it happen. He watches, so he can swoop in, land the killing blow, and claim the reward for himself. It's a perfect, grim snapshot of this world's every person for themselves motto. But then, Ye Xiong does something that makes absolutely no sense in this world.
A spider spits acid towards another hunter, and at the same time, a rockfall is about to crush his antagonist, Chu Yanyan. Without even thinking, Ye Xiong just moves. He throws himself in the way, using his own body to shield both of them. He takes a face full of acid and holds up a massive boulder, risking everything for people who have shown him nothing but pure contempt. For Chu Yanyan, this is a record-scratch moment. This single, selfless act, this pure expression of the true way of heaven, it just completely shatters her reality. Why would this arrogant guy, this demon sympathizer, save her? It doesn't compute. In the dog-eat-dog world she was raised in, this is an error in the system. And it forces her to question everything she's ever been taught. So they're trapped by the cave-in, and Chu Yanyan finally confronts Ye Xiong. But it's not with anger. Instead, she apologizes. And it's not just a simple sorry, it's a confession. She admits that the worldview her sect drilled into her, that cynical, selfish logic of the way of man, it was wrong. In his one action, she saw a completely different and better way to live. And that one small moment, in that dark cave, it contains the seeds of the entire struggle. You see individuals finally starting to push back, to question the propaganda they've been force-fed their whole lives. It's about seeing the humanity in people you were told to hate. It's about realizing that what the system calls a weakness, integrity, empathy, self-sacrifice, is actually the greatest strength you can have. The real fight isn't to destroy the way. It's for people like Ye Xiong and Chu Yanyan to take back its true meaning from the powerful people who twisted it. And I think that's the real question Aurapunk leaves us chewing on. When the entire system, top to bottom, rewards selfishness and punishes kindness, maybe the most radical, most revolutionary act of all isn't some big, violent uprising. Maybe it's just the simple, stubborn, and unbelievably courageous choice to be a decent human being. What do you think?